Apakokanam, excuse me. Kokanam hitakaruno chubhavane manyan saranya karo Radha Krishna padada vinda bhajanan namdela matalako Vande Rupa Sanatana Ragayugo Shri Jiva Gopalako Vande Rupa Sanatana Ragayugo Shri Jiva Gopalako. Offer my respectful obeisance unto the six Goswamis, namely Sri Sanatana Goswami, Sri Rupa Goswami, Sri Raghunath Bhatta Goswami, Sri Raghunath Das Goswami, Sri Jiva Goswami, and Sri Gopal Bhatta Goswami, who are very expert in scrutinizing, studying all the revealed scriptures with the aim of establishing eternal religious principles for the benefit of all human beings. Thus they are honored all over the three worlds, and they are worth taking shelter of, because they are absorbed in the mood of the gopis and are engaged in the transcendental loving service of Radha and Krishna. Right, Hare Krishna. So we are on, and like the Sudha Bhakti Chintamani, we are nearing the end of the Nectar of Devotion.
But we got something for you after that. So don't be redundant. You won't be redundant.
Okay.
They've already planned something.
Okay.
So
sounds interesting.
It
So
looks like we're going to be studying and studying and studying forever.
Okay, we are on chapter, I think we're on chapter 46. 47, okay. Good job, someone's on the ball here. And beginning or in the midst of?
Beginning.
Beginning. Passion and anger. Now, just today I was kind of scanning through the chapters and the subjects we're going to be describing now, and it gets very, if you thought so far has been quite technical, it gets really more technical as we go into chapters describing about rasa bas and the mixing of rasas. So kind of get prepared for that. For the most part, we might be reading. Okay, so I'm just moving things around here on my desktop. Okay, so we have Sahachari hand is up to read. So you can begin.
Thank you. Chapter 47, Compassion and Anger. Compassion. When the ecstasy of devotional service produces some kind of lamentation in connection with Krishna, it is called devotional service in compassion. The impetus for this devotional service are Krishna's transcendental quality, form, and activities. In this ecstasy of devotional service, there are sometimes symptoms like regret, heavy breathing, crying, falling on the ground, and beating upon one's chest. Sometimes symptoms like laziness, frustration, deformation, humility, anxiety, moroseness, eagerness, restlessness, madness, death, forgetfulness, disease, and illusion are also visible. When in the heart of a devotee there is expectation of some mishap to Krishna, it is called devotional service in bereavement. Such bereavement is another symptom of this devotional service in compassion. In Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th canto, 17th chapter, verse 10, there is the following description. When Krishna was chastising the Kaliya Nag in the Yamuna, the big snake wrapped its coil all over Krishna's body, and upon seeing Krishna in this situation, all his dear cowherd friends became greatly disturbed. Out of bereavement, distress, and fear, they became bewildered and began to fall on the ground, because the cowherd boys were under the illusion that Krishna could be in some mishap. Their symptoms are not at all astonishing. They have dedicated their friendship, their possessions, their desires, and their very selves to Krishna. When Krishna entered the Yamuna river, which had become very poisonous from the presence of Kaliya, Mother Yashoda feared all kinds of mishaps, and she was breathing hotly. Tears from her eyes were soaking her clothes, and she was almost collapsing. Similarly, when the Shankashura demon was attacking Krishna's queens one after another, Lord Baladev became more and more bluish. In the Hamsaduta, the following incident is described. The gopis requested Hamsaduta to search after the marks of Krishna's lotus feet and to accept them as Lord Brahma had accepted them on his helmet after he had stolen all Krishna's cowherd boys. Regretting his challenge to Krishna, Lord Brahma has bowed down before the Lord, and his helmet became marked with the footprints of Krishna. The gopis reminded Hamsaduta that sometimes even the great sage Narada becomes very ecstatic by seeing these footprints, and sometimes great liberated sages also aspire to see them. You should therefore seek very enthusiastically to find the footprints of Krishna, they urged. This is another instance of devotional service in compassion. There is an instance when Sahadev, the younger brother of Nakula, became greatly gladdened at seeing the effulgent glowing of Krishna's footprints. He began to cry and call out, Mother Madri, where are you? Father Pandu, where are you now? I am very sorry that you are not here to see these footprints of Krishna. This is another instance of devotional service and compassion.
Okay, perhaps we'll just pause there. Because this is perhaps the word compassion is being used in a different context here. In Sanskrit, compassion is karuna, which it means tragedy. So examples here is given when Krishna is so-called seems to be, like we read, challenged in one way or another. So it's different than the compassion, the context of the word, which we may be familiar with. Let me just read this here. When Prabhupada says, we just read, when the ecstasy of devotional service produces some kind of lamentation in connection with Krishna, it is called devotional service in compassion. So that's because the word compassion here is used in the context of tragedy. And Dhanadass Swami, he mentions, I'll just read this here from him, from the Waves of Devotion. Karuna ras is the Sanskrit term for devotional service in compassion. According to Sanskrit poetics, karuna means tragedy. When a devotee sees Krishna in a tragic situation, he or she feels lamentation and compassion. Consequently, Srila Prabhupada translates karuna as compassion and sometimes as lamentation. All right? I'll just make that little kind of clarification on this.
Yeah, it's difficult to take karuna as tragedy, because to me, karuna is more
compassion, merciful.
compassion.
Yeah, very interesting here.
That word is more sympathy and yeah.
Yeah, well, it does mean compassion in Sanskrit, but here, Dhanadass Swami, because Sanskrit can have, words can have different meanings according to the context in which they're placed. So here it's been using more in the context of the devotee feels actually compassion when Krishna is in a tragic situation, or he feels for Krishna. He feels for Krishna. Sometimes he laments for Krishna. Sometimes he feels for Krishna. So it's not in the context of someone who has karuna giving compassion to someone who is without karuna. You know, like we want the compassion of our spiritual master. If the spiritual master looks at us with compassion, then he's feeling for our struggles. But here it's not using that context. I mean, the devotee is feeling for Krishna being in a so-called tragic situation.
So that's also in a compassion, caring.
Yeah, caring. You could say caring. So they care. So
yeah. Okay.
Compassion is, in one sense, it means you care for
Yeah.
people,
Yeah.
isn't it? So devotees care for Krishna, although there's no need to worry about Krishna. He can take care of himself.
I think so.
You know, he's a big boy. He can take care of himself. He's a supreme Lord. But here, the rasa is so intimate that devotees feel for Krishna when he's so-called in danger. So then Shuddha Dhanada Swami will go on to point out the three objects of Karuna Ras. One's Krishna, and the other one is he's a dear devotees and the relatives of Krishna's associates. They are the objects of this Karuna Ras. Yeah. That's the Vishaya Alambana, where it rests. Yeah. Hare Krishna. Any other little insights into this or appreciations here? Otherwise, we can continue reading.
I was thinking, Prabhu,
Yes.
came to my mind, Mahaprabhu is Karuna Avatar, we say. So is it
Yeah.
connected? Yeah.
Yeah, he is the personification of compassion, isn't it?
Yeah.
Inconceivable, the most compassionate that any of the avatars can possibly be. And how many avatars are there? As many waves as there are in the ocean.
Yeah.
But this particular, he's not an incarnation, he's Krishna himself in the movie Radharani.
Yeah. But we, yeah.
Yeah. Now,
Yes.
interesting how, interesting, but it's, he's not mentioned here. Rupa Goswami is not speaking about Lord
Yeah.
Chaitanya here. Actually, he doesn't speak about him much at all in the Nectar of Devotion.
Devotion. Yeah.
The prayers in the beginning.
Hmm.
He's just following his order that he was given to write about the mellows of devotion. But yeah, thank you for causing us to remember Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He's very compassionate. Yeah. All right, so we read a bit more. Yes. Let me just.
You only got one paragraph on that.
Okay, so you can just finish then.
Yeah.
Sachar,
you can just finish. I didn't see that.
Okay. In devotional service, without strong attraction to the Lord, they may be sometimes smiling at other symptoms, but never the stress or lamentation. There are symptoms of devotional service in compassion. The basic principle of this compassion is always ecstatic love. The apprehension of some mishap to Krishna or to his beloved queens, as exhibited by Baladev and Yudhishthir, has been explained above. This apprehension is due not exactly to their ignorance of the inconceivable potencies of Krishna, but to their intense love for him. This kind of apprehension of some mishap to Krishna, first of all, becomes manifested as an object of lamentation, but gradually it develops into such compassionate, loving ecstasy that it turns to another channel and gives transcendental pleasure.
Yeah. So just some other notes here, some interesting notes that Shuddha Swami, Dhanava Swami writes here. In Karuna Ras, the devotees' love, or he writes, the devotees' intoxicating love covers awareness of the Lord's supremacy. Yeah. So love covers Krishna's supremacy. As we know, that's a specific characteristic of Ragatmaka Bhakti in Vrindavan. So the point that they're feeling compassion for Krishna means they're obviously in Maya, Yoga Maya. Not in Maya as in the Mahamaya, but they're in Yoga Maya. So therefore, they're feeling for Krishna. Yeah. So it's not due to, here he writes, this is not due to their ignorance of the potencies of Krishna, but their intense love for him. And as we know, Krishna likes it very much. Yeah. And another note here, he titles it, "Even tragedy is blissful." I just quote it. Yeah. He mentions here, we must not equate karuna rasa with ordinary material lamentation. So remember, he gave this to compassion and lamentation are two words describing the same emotion. Yeah. We must not equate karuna rasa with ordinary material lamentation. Material emotions can bring only misery, since they focus on the temporary platform. When our emotions focus on Krishna, they can result only in bliss. Thus, even tragedy is blissful in Krishna consciousness. All right. So that was Karuna. I'm just looking here.
Tragedy is blissful, right? Okay.
Yeah, tragedy is
That's a bit,
blissful.
quite big to take.
Yeah, well, on the material platform, tragedy is not very blissful, but on the
No,
spiritual
no.
platform, tragedy is blissful. So it's the absolute world. Yeah.
Everything.
All right. So let's become angry. Now we speak about anger. Yeah.
Yes.
So I can hear, is it Nitai Mata? You're asking a question. Your voice is breaking up.
I said
Yeah. Can't hear you. Your voice is.
disappearance. Oh, is it not good now? Sorry.
Now it is. Yeah. Try again.
Yeah. I said disappearance because when I mean, like ordinary, if somebody leaves the body, that we cry, but here the Acharya's disappearance is a festival for us.
Oh, did you say? Oh, and sorry, and Acharya's disappearance is a festival.
Yes.
Well,
Yeah,
yeah,
because it's blissful.
yeah, it can
Because
be.
they are not disappearing.
It is. It is.
Is it what we are talking?
But there is a slight different mood there. For instance, I see that the appearance of Srila Prabhupada, his appearance day and his Vyas Puja day, and then his disappearance day, there's definitely a different mood in how
Yes.
the festival is observed. I know Keshav Bharati Maharaj on that day, when this was many, many years ago, on Prabhupada's disappearance day, he would stay firmly locked in his room. You know, he would be in a mood of Vipalamba, separation. It often brings up feelings of separation. But of course, it's all blissful because it's all in connection. It's all on the spiritual platform. Anyway, so let's read about anger, shall we now? Vajkishore, you have your hand up. You can take us into anger.
Okay, Hare Krishna. Anger. In ecstatic, loving service to Krishna in anger, Krishna is always the object. In Vidagh Madhav, 2nd Canto, 53rd verse, Lalita Gopi expressed her anger, which was caused by Krishna when she addressed Srimati Radharani thus: "My dear friend, my inner desires have been polluted. Therefore, I shall go to the place of Yamaraj. But I am sorry to see that Krishna has still not given up his smiling over cheating you. I do not know how you could repose all your loving propensities upon this lusty young boy from the neighborhood of cowherds." After seeing Krishna, Jarati sometimes said, "Oh, you thief of young girls' properties, I can distinctly see the covering garment of my daughter-in-law on your person." Then she cried very loudly, addressing all the residents of the Vrindavan to inform them that this son of King Nand was setting fire to the household life of her daughter-in-law. Similar ecstatic love for Krishna in anger was expressed by Rohini Devi when she heard the roaring sound of 2 falling Arjun trees to which Krishna had been tied. The whole neighborhood proceeded immediately towards the place where the accident took place, and Rohini Devi took the opportunity to rebuke Mother Yashoda as following: "You may be very expert in giving lessons to your son by binding him with rope, but don't you look to see if your son is in a dangerous spot? The trees are falling on the ground and he is simply loitering there. This expression of Rohini Devi's anger toward Jashoda is an example of ecstatic love in anger caused by Krishna. Once, while Krishna was in the pasturing ground with his cowherd boys, his friends requested him to go to Talwan forest, where Gardabhasur, a disturbing demon in the shape of an ass, resided. The friends of Krishna wanted to eat the fruit from the forest trees, but they could not go because of the fear of the demon. Thus, they requested Krishna to go there and kill Gardabhasur. After Krishna did this, they all returned home, and their report of the day's activities perturbed Mother Yashoda, because Krishna had been sent alone into such danger in the Talwan forest. Thus, she looked upon the boys with anger. There is another instant of anger on the part of a friend of Radharani's. When Radharani was dissatisfied with the behavior of Krishna and had stopped talking with him, Krishna was very sorry for Radharani's great dissatisfaction. And in order to beg forgiveness, he fell down at her lotus feet. But even after this, Radharani was not satisfied and she did not talk with Krishna. At this time, one of her friends chastised her in the following words: "My dear friend, you are allowing yourself to be churned by the rod of dissatisfaction. So what can I say unto you? The only advice I can give you is that you had better leave this scene immediately, because your misbehavior is giving me too much pain. I cannot bear to see your behavior, because even though Krishna's peacock feather has touched your feet, you still appear to be red-faced." The above attitude of dissatisfaction and anger in devotional service is called Irshayu. When Uddhava was leaving Vrindavan, some of the elderly gopis rebuked him as follows: "O son of Gandhini, your cruelty is defaming the dynasty of King Yadu. You are taking Krishna away, keeping us in such pitiable condition without him. Now, even before you have left, the life air of all the gopis has practically disappeared." When Krishna was insulted by Shishupal in the assembly of the Rajasuya Yagna, convened by Maharaj Yudhishthir, there was a great turmoil amongst the Pandavas and Kurus, involving grandfather Bhishma. At that time, Nakul said with great anger, "Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead, and the nails on his toes are beautified by the high light emanating from the jeweled helmets of the authorities of Vedas. If he is derided by anyone, I declare herewith as a Pandava that I will kick his helmet with my left foot, and I will strike him with my arrows, which are as good as Yamadanda, the scepter of Yamaraj." This is the instance of ecstatic love for Krishna in anger. In such a transcendental angry mood, sometimes sarcastic remarks, unfavorable glances, and insulting words are exhibited. Sometimes there are other symptoms like rubbing the two hands, clacking the teeth, clamping the lips, moving the eyebrows, scratching the arms, lowering the head, breathing rapidly, uttering strong words, nodding the head, exhibiting yellowishness at the corner of the eyes, and exhibiting trembling lips. Sometimes the eyes turn red and sometimes they fade, and there is sometimes chastisement and silence. All these symptoms of anger can be divided into two parts: constitutional and unconstitutional, or permanent and temporary symptoms. Sometimes great emotion, bewilderment, pride, frustration, illusion, impotence, jealousy, dexterity, negligence, and signs of hard labor are also manifest as unconstitutional symptoms. In all these humors of ecstatic love, the feeling of anger is accepted as a steady factor. When Jarasandha angrily attacked the city of Mathura, he looked at Krishna with sarcastic glances. At that time, Baladev took up his plow weapon and gazed upon Jarasandha with colored eyes. There is a statement in the Vidagh Madhav wherein Srimati Radharani, in an angry mood, addressed her mother, Purnamasi, after she had accused Radharani of going with Krishna. My dear mother, Radha declared, what can I say to you? Krishna is so cruel that he often attacks me on the street. And if I want to cry out very loudly, this boy with a peacock feather on his head immediately covers my face so that I cannot cry. And if I want to go away from the scene because I am afraid of him, he will immediately spread his arms to block my path. If I piteously fall down at his feet, then this enemy of the Madhusudan, Madhu demon, in an angry mood bites my face. Mother, just try to understand my situation and don't be unnecessarily angry with me. Indeed, please tell me how I can save myself from these terrible attacks of Krishna. Sometimes among the contemporary personalities, there are signs of ecstasy in anger because of the love for Krishna. An example of such anger is exhibited in the quarrel between Jatila and Mukhara. Jatila was the mother-in-law of Radharani and Mukhara was her great-grandmother. Both of them were talking about Krishna's unnecessary harassment of Radharani when she is walking on the street. Jatila said, you cruel-faced Mukhara, by hearing your words, my heart feels like it is burning in a fire. And Mukhara replied, you sinful Jatila, by hearing your words, there is aching in my head. You cannot give any evidence that Krishna has attacked Radharani, the daughter of my granddaughter Kirtida. Once when Radharani was taking off the necklace given to her by Krishna, Jatila, her mother-in-law, told a friend, my dear friend, just see the beautiful necklace that Krishna has presented to Radharani. She is now holding it, but still she wants to tell us that she has no connection with Krishna. This girl's activities have disgraced our whole family. Natural jealousy of Krishna by persons like Shishupal cannot be accepted as ecstatic love in anger with Krishna.
Okay, so some beautiful pastimes there. I'm sure we're familiar with many of these pastimes, but just goes to show how this is in this world, isn't it? In the Bhagavad Gita, describes there's three gates to hell, and one of them is becoming angry. lust, anger, and greed. But here it has its perfection. Here's a pure form of anger, although not completely pure in regards to Shishupal. not exactly the same. But here, and we're sure we know of many pastimes where we can see Jatila becoming angry, sometimes Radharani becoming angry. They can imagine here they're having quite an argument here. You cruel-faced Kura. So this is village life, but because Krishna's in the center, it's all wonderful. You know, there's rumors about Krishna and there's accusations about Krishna, there's accusations about Radharani, and it causes some intense dealings between the families, some family members here. Jatila. Jatila's Radharani's mother-in-law.
Mother-in-law.
Yeah, mother-in-law, yeah. And there's so many wonderful pastimes. Anyway, any comments on this? About the ecstatic emotion of anger in relation to Krishna as expressed. If not, we can continue reading. Next chapter is dread and ghastliness. Okay, so Mother Lavanga, you like to read? I see how long this chapter is. Yeah, you can just read this. Then someone can read ghastliness.
Oh, I can see. Dread and ghastliness. Dread. In ecstatic love for Krishna in dread, there are two causes of fear, either Krishna himself or some other dreadful situation for Krishna. When a devotee feels himself to be an offender at Krishna's lotus feet, Krishna himself becomes the object of dreadful ecstatic love. And when, out of ecstatic love, friends and well-wishers of Krishna apprehend some danger for him, that situation becomes the object of their dread. When Krsna was in front of Krishna fighting and then suddenly realized that Krishna was the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna addressed him thus, "My dear Krsna, why is your face so dry? Please do not feel threatened by me. There is no need for your heart to tremble like this. Please calm yourself down. I have no anger toward you. You may, however, become as angry as you like with me. To expand your service in fighting with me is to increase my sporting attitude. In this dreadful situation in ecstatic love for Krishna, Krishna himself is the object of dread. There is another instance of a dreadful situation with Krishna as the object, as follows. After being sufficiently chastised by child Krishna in the Yamuna river, the Kali snake began to address the Lord. O killer of the Mora demon, I have acquired many mystic powers by my austerity and penances, but before you I am nothing. I am most insignificant. Therefore, please be kind upon a poor soul like me, and don't be angry with me. I did not know your actual position, and out of ignorance I have committed such horrible offenses. Please save me. I am a most unfortunate, foolish creature. Please be merciful to me. This is another instance of ecstasy of dread in devotional service. When the Keshi demon was causing disturbances in Vrindavan by assuming a large horse's body that was so big that he could jump over the trees, Mother Yashoda told her husband Nanda Maharaj, "Our child is very restless and we had better keep him locked up within the house. I have been very worried about the recent disturbances of the Keshi demon, who has been assuming the form of a giant horse." When it was learned that the demon was entering Gokula in an angry mood, Mother Yashoda became so anxious to protect her child that her face dried up and there were tears in her eyes. These are some of the signs of the ecstasy of dread in devotional service caused by seeing and hearing something that is dangerous to Krishna. After the Putana witch had been killed, some friends of Mother Yashoda inquired from her about the incident. Mother Yashoda at once arrested her friends. Please stop, please stop. Don't bring up the incident of Putana. I become distressed just by remembering this incident. The Putana witch came to devour my son, and she deceived me into letting her take the child on her lap. After that, she died and made a tumultuous sound with her gigantic body. In the ecstasy of devotional service and dread, the unconstitutional symptoms are drying up of the mouth, exuberance, glancing behind oneself, concealing oneself, bewilderment, searching after the endangered lovable object, and crying very loudly. Some other unconstitutional symptoms are illusion, forgetfulness, and expectation of danger. In all such circumstances, the ecstatic dread is the steady or constant factor. Such dread is caused either by offenses committed or by dreadful circumstances. Offenses may be committed in varieties of ways, and the dread is felt by the person who has committed the offense. When dread is caused by a fearful object, the fearful object is generally a person who is fearsome in his features, nature, and influence. An example of an object that caused ecstatic dread is the Putana witch. Dread may be caused by mischievous demonic characters such as King Kamsa, and it may be caused by great powerful demigods such as Indra or Sankara. Demons like Kamsa feared Krishna. but their feelings cannot be described as ecstatic dread in devotional service.
Okay, thank you. So what I'm going to do now, I'm just going to share my screen and show you a little bit about how Dhanada Swami is explaining these chapters here. 1 second. Share screen. Okay, you can all see. No, you can't.
We can, chapter 48.
Yeah. What do you say? Now, can you see my screen? Chapter
Yeah,
4.
yeah. It's, yeah.
So, for example, this is what Rupa Goswami, this is how he is dividing up, this is how he explains these different rasas with Krishna. Remember, as we spoke in the very beginning, we mentioned these words, Vibhava, Vishala Ambana, Ashraya Alambana. But here, let's just go down. Anubhava, Vyapachari Bhava, Sai Bhava, etc. So just for your interest, we might look at this. So this is, so we just read about dread. So Vibhava, the devotee who experiences dread is the Ashraya Alambana, that the person who it resides in, and the person or thing which is the cause of that dreadful fear is the Vishaya Alambana. Okay, I told you to get technical. I just read a little bit so you can get an idea. If you want, you can, if you have this book, Ways of Devotion. It's sometimes interesting to read along with your reading of the Nectar Devotion. So then it mentions two possible objects that cause ecstatic fear: Krishna or a demon. Then Ashraya Alambana. There are two types of persons who experience ecstatic fear. If the object of fear is Krishna himself, the Ashraya Alambana is a devotee who committed an offense. The object of fear is a demon. The Ashraya Alambana is a very intimate devotee who fears for Krishna's safety, etc., etc. I thought I'd just share a little bit. Perhaps reading all of this might be a bit too technical. We might lose the thread of the wonderful pastimes, but just showing you what you will find in the book by Dhanada Swami. He will analyze each of these rasas according to these. This is what makes up rasa, okay? These are the ingredients of rasa. Vibhava, Anubhava, Vyapachari Bhav, Shtahi Bhav. These are the ingredients that make up rasa. All right? For your interest.
Thank you.
Should we read about ghastliness? So who...
Can I just ask one thing about this?
Yeah.
Like this, you experience ecstatic dread in committing offenses, but I'm quite bewildered by that because, I mean, you might feel dreadful if you commit it, or full of dread if you commit an offense, that you might get a reaction or something, but I mean, where is the ecstasy?
Well, again, this is in relationship to pure devotional service, and it's directly in relationship to Krishna. So the Stahi Bhav, or the main relationship, is enhanced by different exchanges with Krishna.
But these devotees, they would never commit an offense. I mean, it's all kind of, maybe they might commit what we might view as an offense, but in the absolute realm, it's not an offense.
No, that's correct. Although externally it may seem like that, but actually everything, every emotion is a symptom of ecstatic love for Krishna. And it takes on many forms, like all these different emotions that we are hearing about, dread. And now we're going to hear about
Yeah.
ghastliness. It's like because they have so
So
much.
sadhakas would not be experiencing that kind of ecstatic symptom.
No, no. No, no. Basically, no. Yeah. So I was going to say something, just lost mind. Yeah. So this is all part of the wonderful expression of Leela and pastimes, because this is what makes the pastime so wonderful and attractive. But some persons have a concept of heaven. So generally, the general concept of heaven is like, say, the Vaikuntha Rasa, or say the Christian concept of heaven, where it's all just there is no, if you were to say in heaven, then there's persons in the village who are arguing with each other and they're disagreeing with each other and they have a dislike for each other. You would say that can't be heaven. That's the material world. But no, actually, the spiritual world, our concept of heaven is that there are such exchanges. There are some, as we heard about Jatila becoming very angry often. And sometimes there's a between her and Mukura, there's like an argument. But this is all just overflowing of the love for Krishna. This is the emotions that it causes, overflowing of love for Radha and Krishna. So it just goes to show that, again, we've mentioned many times that, and we can really see it when we read the degree of the emotions going on in the spiritual world, that every emotion that we experience here has its pure counterpart in the spiritual world, which proves, in one sense, that this place is a reflection of a real place where real pure emotions are exchanged in a relationship with the supreme lovable object, which is Krishna. But here, it all takes on a material form, which is not very blissful. Yeah. I mean, we've all experienced in life, isn't it? I'm sure we've all experienced dread. We've all experienced ghastliness. We've all experienced anger and all these other emotions. But none of them are in relationship to Krishna. It's all in relationship to matter. So therefore, it's not a very blissful experience. But in the spiritual world, in relationship to Krishna, it's all in relationship to Krishna. And it's all a symptom of ecstatic love.
I was thinking, listening to these words, ghastly, dread, all that, because being so conditioned, we completely have a different impression of these words.
Yeah.
But what we read and what goes on in the spiritual world,
Yeah.
it's not what we feel, what we see here.
Yeah. And especially when we come across such words as calm.
Yeah.
Trust. I mean, that really bewilders everyone. That one really bewilders many people, because our only concept here is of one thing. So to try and understand it in its pure form, then we're trying to understand it from the information that we have. But the information that we have is wrong. So as soon as we try and understand it, so for instance, the Adiras from a material perspective, then we can't. What's interesting, that as we turn away from the sex life in the material world, let's use that for example, if we turn away from that, then the more the realm of pure love or pure lust, so to speak, will become very sweet and attractive. You know? It's like the other day, I was in class, we had a discussion after class You know, it is related. You know, with this concept of when we say everything comes from God,
Mhm.
and then the next question, the so-called intelligent atheist will say, is what? And we say, well, where does God come from? That's the question. Yeah. But I was thinking about this, is that the concept of things coming into being, of being created, that's only an experience in the material world. So for everything, if you look around your room, you look at your shoes, your picture, your chair, your computer, the curtains, the bricks, the car, the road, supermarket, everything. At one time, it wasn't there, and it was created. That's our condition. That's our experience. You know? So then, when we hear about the subject of, so then we start to hear about subjects of transcendent and the existential or the position of Krishna, then the conditioned soul asked a dumb question: well, where does he come from? But you understand, but in the spiritual world, that experience of something not existing and then coming to being, it's just not part of their. It just doesn't exist in that dimension because everything's eternally present. There is no past. It's all the eternally present. So that conversation of where did this come from, where did that come from, or where did God come from, that doesn't exist, I don't think, pretty sure, in the spiritual world because it's not part of that dimension. But when we look up to the spiritual world and from our temporary world, from our frame of reference, we try to understand that place. And then we ask silly questions like, where does God come from? I mean, God's the creator of that ingredient which causes, time. So it's an energy that Krishna owns, and time mixes all the elements. So therefore, you have old age, for example. But that's the potency that Krishna employs in the world of matter. It doesn't exist in the spiritual world. So that's why we have to just accept what's being spoken of in the Veda, or we have to accept the knowledge coming down to explain, for example, that there is no time in the spiritual world. And they call it blind acceptance. No, but it's called intelligence acceptance, because we cannot conceive of such dimensions. Anyway, going on now, but so therefore, when calm, for instance, different emotions, it's difficult to conceive of them going on in relationship with the Supreme, because we have a negative comprehension of these qualities. But we are in the counterfeit world. Anyone ever bought anything which is counterfeit or it's not what it should be? It's you've been cheated. I remember on one time on Oxford Street, I saw these scarves which were for sale on the market stall on Oxford Street. Cashmere scarves, £15. I thought, wow, that's far out. I'll have one of those. 15, cashmere scarf costs like £200. So like I was the cheaters and the cheated, I just accepted something for, it was a mistake. I was cheated. I was given a counterfeit. So this material world is a counterfeit place. That's why we should have our eyes set on the spiritual world, and we shouldn't get too hung up about what's going wrong here, because this is not our real existence. It's in the spiritual world. Yeah. Hare Krishna. Any comments on that or any reflections? But good to keep in mind as we're reading about all these different emotions, you know. All
I
right.
was thinking before, like we didn't even realize we would be exactly the same. Where did Krishna come from? Isn't it good that we've come a little bit further up? At least we realize that everything is Krishna's energy in this material world.
Yeah. Yeah. We don't have that discussion.
Mm.
Where's Krishna come from?
But at one point we did. So at least, we got that little bit that, okay, Krishna's energy everywhere. That's how Krishna exists.
Yeah. He exists in a place where nothing, where it's the ever present. So there's no question here.
Hmm.
Because then there's an eternal regress, because that, if Krishna has a source, then that source is greater than Krishna. And so the next question is, okay, so where does that source come from?
Yeah.
That's called an eternal regress, you invoke this eternal regress. Okay, where does that come? I mean, well, who created it? It all stops at Krishna, as is mentioned in the first verse of Srimad Bhagavatam. Janmadiya Syayato. That's the starting place of everything. There's no conversation beyond that.
I can understand the point, because you say this is your father, his father, his father, his father. So you go all the way to Krishna. Okay, what happens after that? Who's Krishna's?
That's it. That's the stopping point, and that's called God.
Yeah.
This is where everything then issues from him.
Mm.
Yeah. Now the next chapter is chapter 49. And it's mixing of rasas. So we're going to mix things up now. So now we discussed all the rasas. Rupa Goswami's discussed the 5 primary rasas and the 12 secondary rasas, of which we've just been describing. Dread and ghastliness is an indirect rasa of the 12 rasas. So now we're going to mix things up. We're doing a mixing of these different rasas. So,
Did we do ghastliness?
did I miss it?
We didn't.
Okay, my mistake.
No, we didn't.
Okay, let's go back. Ghastliness, how long is that? Okay, let's read Ghastliness descent.
It's about 4 minutes, Prabhu.
All right, let's start reading. Perhaps should we perhaps stop there then, or
Yeah, we can stop there and
pause there and
yeah.
get ready for next week where we read Ghastliness, and then we're going to shake the whole thing up. The mixing of rasas. Okay.
Thank you.
So thank you all for a little reading this evening, Nectar Devotion. Gradually coming to the end. I'm intrigued what you were speaking about there, Chandravali. You had some idea of.
Well, I think we want, quite a lot of us would like to go to Bhagavad Gita, if that's okay with you.
Oh, really? Yeah, why not? Bhagavad Gita.
Yeah, like we relate one chapter to another chapter to another chapter, like that.
Yeah, we
That's
can.
quite nice to.
Yeah, we can do like I can pull out some Bhakta Sastri study guide on it, and yeah, happy to do that.
That'd be good for everybody, all different devotees. It'd be good.
Yeah, okay.
And then I was thinking, when we finish, the Bhakti Chintamani is coming to an end.
Yeah.
So we will have that day as well, because we can, won't we?
Yeah. I was I had first an idea of we just go to the Sankalpa Kaumudi, but it sounds like you're eager to.
Yeah, that we're doing it on Monday. Is that okay with you? Mondays? I know let's just come on. This is life. Make the most of it. We don't know what's going to happen. Put as much in the bank balance as we can.
Yeah.
And then I will tell you how much I've got.
Mother, waiting for recording.
Oh, no, can't keep everybody keeps saying we can't keep recording and then I send it to everybody, only one or two people might want it. And it's Sachari yesterday was making garlands. She can't just do recording as well.
No, Monday one, we did it, no, Prabhu?
Yeah, I've got the recording. I'll try to dig it out and I'll send it to you. Nimai Mata. Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Well, let's perhaps discuss that then once we finish Sudha Bhakti Tamani. Then we can
If nobody wants anything else, I'd like to read that.
perhaps we could read the Quran.
Good day. Or Bible. Or if nobody wants to do anything different, then I would like to just carry on reading all these books, Shiva Maharaj's books. I don't know.
Well, let's discuss. I don't want to, because I'm a disciple of Sri Ram Swami. I don't want to overburden you with
No, I'm not thinking about that. I'm thinking about understanding one.
Well, yeah, Sankalpa Kabudi is really going to be a big project, kind of a big project.
Yeah, it looks a big book, right, Sankalpa Kamuji? But when you start reading the page by page, it's not that much in a page because there's quite a lot of verses in there as well. And
Yeah. And also, I'm not presenting it like Sudha Bhakti Chintamani. We're just reading it as a group and like having a discussion. It's a little bit different.
Yeah, but at least we learning.
Perhaps in all parts, all devotees in the group here, you can all put your suggestions forward.
Yes.
What you like to hear and read, and together, I'm sure we come up with a consensus. Everyone's happy.
Mahabharat.
Yes.
Mahabharat.
Mahabharat. Yes.
Yeah. Mahabharat. That's Bhaktivedanta Purnamad is reading from that at the moment as well.
Yes.
Another suggestion, Mahabharat is there.
Yes.
Right, it's a few I heard a few other voices. Yes.
No.
Yes, Prabhuji, Mahabharat is better. Yes.
All right. Anyway, so we got.
Okay, send everybody send whatever you want, and then
Yeah, you can send to Mother Chandravali.
Chaitanya Charitamrita.
what?
Chaitanya Charitamrita.
Now, once was Nimai's Mata Chaitanya Tatamrita.
I'm at the moment enjoying those classes, CC classes.
Yeah.
If we learn the first 12 chapters, try and understand that, then the whole CCs.
Yeah. You're doing that with, what are you doing with Nam Sankirtan?
Holy name.
Holy name.
Oh, what's he basing it on? What's he basing it on? Is he own study or is he going from a particular book? Or?
No. He's just doing random picking up. How he's connecting is from Srimad Bhagavatam to CC.
Oh, nice.
All that. He's really connecting and making up. Yeah. But then he's studying himself. So he's
okay. All right. So we're finished there for today then. And
we won't have a class tomorrow, everybody, because he's traveling.
Yeah.
The week after that, he will do it from his folks, he said.
From Moscow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you very much, Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Krishna, thank you.
Hare Krishna, everyone. Hare Krishna.